I'm still here. I am Warren Sprouse. I'm the host of the Bible Forum. We meet every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. right here. You can find us at the website, thebibleforum.net. And each week we talk about life through a biblical lens, and we generally solve all the world's problems in 2 hours or less. If you're watching this, you're on the YouTube page, or maybe on the sermonaudio.com page, or maybe it has just been sent to you. But we'd love for you to be part of our program each and every week. I want to talk to you about the issue that had occurred in McKinney, Texas, in a week or so ago. It was one of those things that you really don't get all the information, and someone has gone to the trouble to ferret this out and try to put together the pieces to see just what was going on before the camera started to roll. We assume it was a phone or some small something or other. But according to the folks who were there and live in a neighborhood and whatever, what they're telling us is that this was a pool party that was advertised on Twitter for at least a month before the event. This was not a spontaneous gathering of young people that the cops just came in and busted up. It was organized by a professional promoter. Her name is Tatiana Rhodes. She's a full-grown woman. She's got a mother, and she and her mother put this party together as a way to sell tickets to another event. And the other event was called Make It Clap, Part 2. And that was supposed to happen later on in the month of June. It turned out to be a massive blowout. It was held in a private community. It had a DJ. It had music blaring in this community. Never once did they apply, nor did they receive permission from the Homeowners Association to do any of this. It said it was going to be a pool party. You saw the pictures of the pool, beautiful pool. Nobody went by near the pool. It wasn't available to them. It's part of the Homeowners Association. It was off limits. They're non-residents. Residents could go and they could take guests, but they have a limited number of guests that they could take. Most of the young people that showed up were not residents. They were just kids off the street, as it were. Now, the promoters claimed that they got permission from the HOA, but the people in the neighborhood said, we didn't know anything about it. The HOA said, we don't know anything about it. And it was the people in the neighborhood who called the police because the whole thing was getting out of hand. 100 or more children who are running around half naked. And they were doing things that I can't even tell you about. I'm not going to tell you about. I don't want to titillate your fancy. You can imagine. They were drinking. Their goal was to come and to hook up. They were looking for love in all the wrong places. Now, the liberal media is characterizing this as an innocent children's pool party. But these were not your everyday innocent children. So what we have here is an unsanctioned, heavily promoted, loud, sexually charged teen party right in the middle of a neighborhood where none of these kids lived, a neighborhood that's filled with people, parents, children, of all different cultural backgrounds, races, and faiths, or whatever, organized by a bunch of people who have shown themselves willing to play fast and loose with the truth and not at all concerned about the rule of law, not concerned about peace, not concerned about trespassing laws, privacy rules, or the rules and tenets governing the community. And there was no adult supervision. Now, there were a few alleged grown-ups who were hanging around there, but they didn't really see a problem with anything that was happening, and they weren't involved in trying to stop it on any level. It was the neighbors, the people who pay to maintain the property. Did I tell you it was private property? Who called the police. Things were getting broken. People were getting tired of it. The police arrived, and immediately a number of these kids just took off. You saw the police chasing them. I don't know what police are supposed to do when they show up to a mob and the mob takes off running. You did see 3 or 4 young men sitting on the ground. They were told to sit, and they did, and the rest of them took off. Whether they were trying to round them all up and charge their parents with something, or whether they were just trying to make sure they didn't run all through the community, we don't really know. But what they apparently were doing was trying to get these kids to stop and sit down. That doesn't sound all that bad. But a lot of them ran off, and one of them wanted to tussle with this cop. She didn't want to do what she was told, and when he touched her, grabbed her in order to encourage her participation, she started to fight with him. We didn't see all that. We're assuming that from what we did see. What we saw was him trying to get her on the ground. You say, well, why does he want her on the ground? That's what police do. It is safer for everyone, and them included, if people are on the ground. You also saw him pull his gun. What you probably didn't see unless you watched one of the YouTubes that slowed it down so you could see it, were 2 young men that came around. They were characterized as teenagers. They may be, but you can be 19 and be a teenager. And they looked like they were pretty good, hefty size boys, and they weren't 12. And one of them is reaching in behind to the waistband of his pants on the left side with his hand. We didn't see what he was reaching for, but he made what is called a furtive move. Is he trying to pull his pants up? Is he going for a gun, a knife? We don't know. The officer is trained at that point to pull his gun. See, civilians don't understand how this works, but these guys are trained. They go through processes where they, shoot, don't shoot situations, and they are drilled and drilled and drilled. If you have what looks like a gun, it was a 12 or 14-year-old kid had a water pistol. They had taken the red tip off. It looked like a gun. And the cops told him to put the gun down. He wouldn't do it. And the child then turned toward the police with the gun in his hand, and they shot him dead. And we on the civilian side scream bloody murder, but that's what they're taught to do. You have a weapon, and you point it at them, you're dead. You go for a weapon, I'm going to compensate for that. Now the other 2 guys showed up. The kids took off. He put it right back. As far as you can tell, he did exactly the right thing. But he lost his job. And we now have people on TV. I saw one gal who, in talking about this, seemed to give these kids a greater a degree of credibility and wisdom and innocency than really was there. But I have property in one of those communities that has a homeowners association and a pool, and I can tell you that in the summertime, children are wont to bring their friends, to go over and to open the gate for people they know. Whether they are allowed to come in or not, it doesn't matter. And pretty soon the pool is filled with a bunch of young people that are horsing around, and your 6-year-old is getting drowned. I mean, these things happen. You pay money every month to avoid that. If you wanted that, you'd go down to the pool in town. You don't want that. And these kids are on the wrong side of that. We'll have to see how it all unfolds, because it's going to unfold. But watch the liberal media. There's a good chance that you're not going to hear the truth.